The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
Don't forget, at around 6:40, we will have Chris Simpson from the Daily Blitz. He will call in and talk about the upcoming NFL playoff games. He's our NFL expert, and there's certainly a lot to talk about.
Yep, and we'll be having him on throughout the playoffs.
Absolutely. And right now we're just going to wrap up before an update. We're going to wrap up sort of our talk about the Bears' new offensive coordinator, Dowell Loggins, as he replaces Adam Gase. And, we all knew the move was coming. We just didn't know who would be the replacement. But, of course, I think we're both glad it's somebody within the organization.
Right. I mean, I would have been fine with Mike McCoy if he had been fired by the Chargers.
Sure.
Which, you could have gone with Ken Wissenhunt. Which, it's not bad. I mean, it's nice that they have a guy that they trust enough to promote from within. It's not like from when they promoted Mike Tice back in 2012.
No,
where that was an awful promotion.
It's nothing like that. Hopefully, at least it shouldn't be, and it'll just be sort of an interesting transition. Hopefully. But it really shouldn't be any issue. It'll be just like Adam Gase is there, only he's not.
Right, and you never know. Maybe they'll have the opportunity to bring Mike McCoy aboard if either Dowell Loggins gets hired to be a head coach after this season, or that it doesn't work out with them.
Right, and of course we'll see how Adam Gase does in Miami with Tannehill too, because that'll be really interesting. To see just how good of a head coach Adam Gase can be. We know he was good as offensive coordinator, but we'll see if that had to do more with him or more with John Fox and a lot of the good coaches that the Bears had this past season. We'll have to see how it plays out for Adam Gase.
Yep. I think he's going to do a good job. I think we could see a much better Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I certainly think we will. I hope so, because I do like Tannehill. I don't really like the Dolphins overall.
Yeah, I think he could be a really good quarterback. He just needs to trust his arm more. Yeah,
he definitely does. Okay, we're going to take an update, then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit before we go to break. We'll talk a little bit about the very exciting playoff games that took place last week in the NFL.
Who's the GOAT and who's the hero? Coming up right after this update. At 6:30, I'm Ryan Risky with your SportsTownChicago.com update, brought to you by the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. The Blackhawks are about to take on the Canadians right now. Puck drop is about 6:30. It's 6:30 now. The Bulls are taking on the 76ers and are losing 27-20 with a minute and a half to go in the first.
Sounds like another slow start.
Oh, boy. The Marlins signed second baseman Dee Gordon to a 5-year, $50 million contract extension, while also signing left-handed pitcher Wei-Yin Chen to a 5-year, $80 million deal. The Bears promoted quarterbacks coach Dowell Loggins to offensive coordinator, replacing Adam Gase. 49ers have hired Chip Kelly to be their new head coach, and the Giants promoted offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo to head coach, replacing legendary coach Tom Coughlin. The Rams have been announced as the NFL team that is moving to Los Angeles. This has been your SportsTownChicago.com update, brought to you by the Illinois Media School. For more information, visit beonair.com. I'm Ryan Risky.
Okay, welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. Apparently, the Raptors and Magic played in London earlier today, and the Raptors won 106-103 in overtime. I did not know that they were doing NBA games in London now.
Toronto was involved in 2 overtime games in London this year.
Yes, yeah, apparently that's the case. And, I didn't realize the NBA was playing games in London, but they are. And, as Ryan said, the Bulls are losing. Now it's 30-20, the first quarter almost over.
Oh, Bulls. Anyways.
We'll talk about them later.
Were you watching live the end of the Seahawks and Vikings?
I was, and something told me that he was going to miss that field goal. I don't know what it was, but I felt like Blair Walsh was going to miss, and normally I'm wrong when I say that because, like, in any of those moments, I'm like, oh, he's going to miss. And I was right. unfortunately, I was rooting for the Vikings. I do like the Seahawks, but
I'm just tired of seeing the Seahawks make deep runs. Like let other teams get some spotlight.
But I mostly just like Russell Wilson. I'm not really a fan of Pete Carroll. I'm not really a fan of some of their, not necessarily troublemaking players, because they're not really troublemakers. They're just very intense. But I'm not really a fan of what the Seahawks are about necessarily. But I felt good that the Vikings were going to win. I would have been surprised because they would have won on all field goals. Which
right. I mean, Blair Walsh had a good game. I mean, he was the only one that scored their points,
and he is one of the better kickers in the NFL.
He is. He's got a big leg, and I remember I saw a video on YouTube of someone that was at the game, and he posted a video of it. And because of where he was sitting, you couldn't see if the kick if it missed or not. So everyone in his section was like screaming and cheering, thinking it was over. And then you hear someone scream like, "I think he missed it!" Oh. And then of course they went on a profanity-laced speech after that.
It wasn't even close.
Nope. I can't remember the last time that the last season that kickers missed so many important field goals. I mean, there's been a lot of missed field goals at the end of games.
I mean, does that have to do with them making the extra points 33 yards instead of
probably
what it normally
probably
was?
Not, because that's what that field goal was a lot closer than the extra point.
I know. I think it was 27 or something.
I think it was 26 or 27, yeah.
And I can't believe he missed. I was rooting for the Vikings. I thought they were going to lose going into it, but they ended up playing pretty well, and they really did well in that first half, not really allowing anything for Seattle. And then Seattle got the one touchdown at in the third quarter, or maybe that was the beginning of the fourth quarter. But yeah, Blair Walsh just flat out missed it, and of course
you hate seeing
the laces were facing the wrong way. I think that's a new setup guy that they have down there, setting up the kick for Walsh. I
mean, that was a chip shot, though. It doesn't matter what way the laces were facing. That was a chip shot.
I mean, you have to make it, especially in that situation, because now Seattle is playing Carolina, and that'll be
that's going to be a good
interesting game. And of course, it could have been the Vikings. Although maybe the Vikings would have played Arizona. I'm not quite sure how it worked out. All I know is that the Vikings blew it, and that's sort of a Minnesota thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, you really feel so bad because they had such a good season. You could see that they were making big strides, and then that happened. I mean, you just feel sick to your stomach, though, when you see kickers missing important field goals like that.
Right, yeah. I was really upset after. I'm like, how do you miss that?
I mean, you feel bad for the guy because you know he feels terrible.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine what he feels. And then, of course, that other game, the Steelers and Bengals, which was very exciting. And the Bengals found a way to be the Bengals, as they have a couple of those bad dudes on the Bengals that got those penalties.
Yeah, the Bengals found a way to lose that game.
Yeah.
I think we'll just leave it at that before we go to break and bring Chris Simpson on, because we'll definitely get some of his thoughts from the way that game ended. Because
oh my gosh,
you can't write up that ending. I mean, that was probably the best game.
I think overall that was definitely the best game. That Packers and Washington game was good until halftime ended.
I don't know. I had the feeling that whole game that Green Bay was about to take over.
Yeah.
So,
and we both picked Green Bay, so we got that.
You're listening to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com.
The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.